A precaution. This video sometimes contains very stuttery footage. I have no idea why, since everything looked fine when it was being recorded, but I did my best to cut around it or fix it. I just wanted to put that out there before we get started. Also, I'm sick, so if I sound like crap, just get over it. Otherwise, enjoy the presentation. Well, if there is demand, I shall comply. The demand in question being a sequel to my females-only run of Shadow Dragon. I considered doing one of the more impossible-sounding ones, but I already did one that was pretty hard, so to balance things out, I'll do a more popular game today, as I'm tackling the most popular, for better or worse, Fire Emblem game, Three Houses. Like last time, the rules are pretty easy. I am not allowed to let any male perform any action that enters them into the action zone, that being the area that zooms in to show a unit performing some form of action, like attacking, healing, using a gambit, or dancing. Technically, I could just disable combat animations and then no unit would enter the combat zone, but that's lame, so I'm not going to do that. This does bring up the question that I never had to answer in Shadow Dragon: do green units count as a failure if they enter combat? Technically, by the rules I established on, no, and that's how I ran it, though I would count it as a failure if I was to say, let a green unit do all the fighting for me. For instance, in the prologue, if I sat back and let Geralt do most of the fighting, that would be a failure since I'm utilizing a male. In chapters like Chapter 8, it's not a failure for the generic soldiers or the villagers to enter combat, since the former aren't too good at fighting anyways, and the latter can't fight back. Male units are also not allowed to launch gambits that don't have any animation, like Stride. Basically, if it gives class or authority XP, or is generally considered lame, I'm not doing it. I'm also forced to recruit every single character. If I can beat Shadow Dragon obtaining every unit, I can beat Three Houses doing the same. Now there is something to be said about making Byleth a male for extra challenge, but if you just said that, jump into a canyon. We're going female Byleth, and at the recommendation of my Twitch chat, and by Twitch chat I mean my brother, I named myself Venus to get the run started. And no, I didn't realize I misspelled Venus until way into the challenge run, so I better not see any comments about it. I decided to go hard casual, that way I deal with some hard challenges, but I'm not forced to reset the run because of some bad RNG. Trust me, I did that plenty in Arcana. I don't plan on doing that again. With all that out of the way, let's get started. After waking up and disappointing my dad, a usual occurrence for me, I learned that a bunch of students are being attacked by bandits, so time to go and get some weapon practice in. I place myself in the forest to keep my evasion high, and clear out most of the bandits before coming face to face with the boss, Costas. No real problem dealing with them, and while Geralt has to see some combat since I literally cannot kill them fast enough, I did my best to clear them out before he could steal too many of the kills. Once that's handled, I let myself get stabbed for the sake of one of the students, and to reward my kindness, a Christmas tree gives me the ability to rewind time, which will no doubt be very useful in the coming months. As a reward for helping the students, I'm given a teaching role at their school, so I can teach them how to murder better since I'm clearly so good at it. I'm given a choice between the Black Eagles, the Blue Lions, and the Golden Deer, which will not only affect who I start the game with, but which story route I go down. They're all about the same length, the Black Eagles just being one single chapter shorter, so it mostly comes down to the units I'm given to start with, and more importantly, what I need to train in order to recruit units. The Golden Deer has the number advantage, since it comes with 4 units: Hilda, the physical beast, Lysithea, the magical nuke, Leonie, the tanky all-arounder, and Marianne, the supportive one. Blue Lions makes up for the number disadvantage by having some stellar units, as Ingrid is a speedy spearwoman, Mercedes is the best healer in the game, and Annette has some fantastic magical power. The last group is the Black Eagles, with the crit machine Petra, the Vengeance Queen Bernadetta, and the kinda just here to sing Dorothea. Wait, why not Edelgard? Well, because Edelgard is the next Emperor of Adressia. And since there has never once been an example of a woman pretending to be a man in order to gain something from a patriarchal society ever, therefore Edelgard is actually a man and I cannot use her. Something else to decide is that whatever house I go down, I'll need to build up specific things in order to recruit certain units. Some of these I'll get anyways, like Leonie and Ash requiring C rank lance, since I need that for Pegasus Knight and Cavalier anyways, or Ignatz and Dorothea, both requiring a B in authority, but some are more obtuse, like a B+ in swords for Felix, or a C in armor for Ferdinand and Raphael. There are even some exclusives, like Caspar requiring a C in brawling, something I really can't train in, or Hilda requiring a C in axes. Ultimately, I went with the Black Eagle's house, since while I do lose a chapter, it'll be the hardest out the gate, and I do love me some red. That means I have 3 units to use, in Bernadetta, Petra, and Dorothea. Bernie is a interesting unit, as she's pretty terrible at the starting point, not being super strong or fast or tanky, but she'll grow into a powerhouse in just a few chapters. Her main advantage is having access to the Vengeance combat art, which turns each missing point of HP into raw damage, and when coupled with Vantage from Mercenary and Battalion Wrath from Authority, and her personal skill giving her +5 attack anytime she's not at full health, she can become a complete and utter killing machine once under a certain HP threshold, and since she can easily slot into Cavalier or Paladin, she can even canter away if things get too dicey, and pick up the Desperation skill so her follow-ups occur before the enemy. Now, that being said, she can be too frail for the strategy to work, she has a weakness in swords which will make getting into Merc annoying, and while she does get 2 good bow combat arts, Curved Shot and Encloser, bows themselves aren't amazing in this game unless you go into the Sniper class, so I shouldn't waste too much time training her in that. Dorothea is the main mage for the Black Eagles, and while she has her good points, she's not that great of a unit overall. She has some great black magic spells like the 3-range Thoron, the 3-10 Meteor, and the incredibly powerful Agni's Arrow. Outside of that, she struggles quite a bit. Not enough strength to really make use of the sword she's proficient in, only having 3 white magics even if one of them is Physic. She's missing out on having Fortify, Warp, Rescue, Silence, Restore, or even Aura. Add on to that her incredibly poor defenses, and her class not really helping with that fact, and she's going to be a bit of a hassle to use. Not even her personal skill is super useful, since it's just a very minor heal, and something that could potentially mess up Bernie's damage boost. At least her charm is really good, so she can make excellent use of gambits. Petra is easily the best student available to us now. She's fast, evasive, lands crits like nobody's business, and has some of the best boons in the game, in swords, axes, and flying, and bows I guess. This means she can get into some amazing classes like Barbarian, Mercenary, Assassin, Wyvern Rider, and Warrior. Her only real flaw is that none of her combat arts really stand out all that much, but considering that one of her main assets is her speed, I'm not too concerned about that anyways. She can stay doubling. Once I pick my house, it's off to the races to start living as a professor. Talking with the students, I pick up my starting quests, that being garden, fish, and eat food. I did the food and fishing quest first, since that'll let me boost the plants nicer than I could before once I level up my professor rank to E+. And with nothing else to do, I head off for my first real combat experience with the students. First, I dump the items of units I'm not using into the convoy, and equip the ones I am, trying to maximize equipment before heading out. I lure in the first guy, Lorenz, with Dorothea by my side to heal my HP after combat, while Bernie lures in the archer Ash. Dorothea picks off Lorenz, I weaken Ignatz, and Bernie and Petra work together to take out Ash. Ignatz technically is still alive, but since Bernie swapped over to a sword, he can't double her, so she can survive with 1 HP. Ignatz is finished off next turn, and we start making our way west to deal with the Golden Deer first, keeping Bernie near Dorothea for the free healing, since we have no faith mages at this moment. Petra lures out Hilda and Claude from the bushes they're hiding in, a dodge keeping her healthy and allowing her to finish her off, letting me and Bernie kill Claude, which gives Bernie her first level up. I then sit on my hands as Dorothea heals up the party, before it's time to take on Manuela. Not too hard of a challenge, especially with a Petra on my side, and Bernie gets the kill thanks to her crest, which basically acts like Adept from the SNES and GameCube games. The Blue Lions come running, but we answer back with extreme force. Bernie taking out Mercedes thanks to her crest, and then we wait for Dedu and Dimitri to move in, especially Dedu, since if he waits, he gets +4 defense, which is a nightmare this early on. Thanks to Venus's strength and Dorothea's magic, the two put Dedu down for the count. Bernie needs to take another hit to make sure that Dimitri doesn't kill off Dorothea, but once that's done, the 4 ladies can team up to take the leader of the Blue Lions down, and provide a path to the final enemy, Hanuman. He's not that big a deal, however, and so we can lure him off his defensive terrain with Petra, then take him out with Petra, to finish off our first real fight. With the start of a new month, I'm not only introduced to monthly missions, but I'm allowed access to more of the Academy, as well as Abyss, which I promptly head down there to pick up the 4 Ashen Wolves, the 2 usable ones being Constance and Happy. Constance is the definition of a glass cannon. She has an amazing offensive spell list, a decent enough faith-based one, and a growth that's seriously impressive, being 70 right as she enters Mage. Problem is, that's her only good trait. Her speed is poor, her HP and defenses are awful, and her personal skill is borderline useless. Circadian Beat gives her plus 3 offensive stats if it's night or indoors, plus 3 defensive stats outdoors. Most maps are outdoors during the day, so she gets much more useless defensive boost, which isn't good enough to save her pathetic defenses. She's definitely good for now, and once we have access to battalions, she'll be plenty powerful, plus she gets access to rally magic and resistance quickly, but I foresee her getting dropped once we get better gals in the barracks. Speaking of better gals, Happy is just a better version of Constance. Not only does she have better spells, since dark magic is usually more useful than reason, but her stats are more balanced. Swarm inflicting speed -4 is great, but Banshee makes it so most enemies won't be able to move at all, and those that can will only have 1 or 2 points of movement. Death is a killer magic, and Hades is insanely powerful. Plus she has a pretty good faith list with Physic and Warp, as well as Seraphim. For some reason, once we start battling monsters, she's able to entirely delete their barriers since every attack of hers is effective. She's a fantastic unit, and one I'm going to get a lot of use out of. After doing my usual stuff like my mandatory quests and some talking with the students for the meager support points, and recruiting Sylvain for the bonuses I can get out of that, like the bullion in his inventory. I complete all the quests and missions I can in order to max out my gains, like Professor XP and support points. I make sure to check the library for any books I can, as well as do some cooking for Professor XP and support points for hanging out with Bernie Bear. Do some fishing and just like that, out of free time, so it's time to start training my gals. I focus training Dorothea's Faith, Bernie's Lance rank, and Petra's Bow rank. As for combat studies, all the guys are made to learn axes and brawling. I reinforce my previous training for the girls, as well as making Happy and Constance train in Faith to get some healing for the longer missions. Heading out for our first training mission, nothing really interesting happens since it's just a combat tutorial. I make effective use of the terrain, working to make sure that as many of my units hit level 5 so we can access the first tier of classes. This is made easier since Constance and Happy start at level 3, and the levels can be more easily spread around since instead of having 10 units deployed, I have 6. Venus gets to level 5, but that's about it, everyone else being around level 4. Did a bit more tutoring, sung a hymn with Bernie and Edelgard, and then promoted into Myrmidon. I then had Manuela do a seminar, which granted me E+ Faith, but it let both Constance and Happy hit D rank Faith, giving me 2 different healers for future chapters, which is very useful. With all that out of the way, it's time for the first real battle of the game, Battle in the Canyon. Before the battle begins, I take the time to equip the battalions onto my units. We actually got these before the last mission, but I didn't have any way to repair them if they got damaged, so I decided to save them until now, so I knew I'd have them for most, if not the entire battle. I throw Edelgard in the corner where she can't get in the way, before luring out the archer and axeman with my body. Constance is constantly spamming her rally against Happy to raise their supports if she has nothing else going on, and I quickly clear out the first wave of enemies, before setting my sights on making it into the clearing. Most of the time I lure in the enemies since I have the most bulk out of my troops so far, and I can soften them up for the suckier units to get the XP they need to hit level 5. One of the major issues I'm already running into is speed. Most of what I'm fighting are thieves, which means that outside of Petra wielding gauntlets, my units can only hit them once, meaning a single enemy can sometimes take 2 or 3 girls just to finish them off, meaning there's always a concern over getting swarmed and outnumbered. Something that definitely helps, though, is making sure Bernie is at least somewhat damaged at all times. That way she gets her 5 bonus damage out as much as possible. Bernie, Dorothea, and Happy hit level 5, which will be very nice once we finish up here, and I decide to use myself to lure in the enemy Gambit user, who thankfully misses. Bernie maxes out Commoner, which is actually pretty nice, since it gives us the skill HP +5. Is it fantastic? No, but a buff that large this early is actually very nice, and it'll definitely see some play later down the line. Petra hits level 5, and we get the chest key to grab that bullion, which is pretty cool. Another gambit miss means that I can help weaken the enemy for my students, and the kill goes to Constance, in order to make sure that now everyone can promote once we finish up here. Taking the left path, we clear our way towards the boss. Petra mastering Commoner as well, as the bandits continue to kindly throw themselves into the meat grinder that is the Lady Army. I would be disappointed in how often we got 2 or 3 stat ups, but considering how frequently one of those few stats was speed, I guess I can tolerate it. Something else I try to do in this map is make sure that Venus is adjacent to a unit that's going to get the kill, so that way they get 1.2 times the XP. Not amazing, but every little bit counts. Costas really stood no chance against us, and while I did get Constance killed, it was worth it since it gave Dorothea the chance to max Commoner, before Petra had put Costas in the ground, ending the mission successfully. This month, I'm expected to kill some dude raising a ruckus in some backwater part of the country, which is fine by me if I'm getting paid. Promotions go about what you'd expect outside of Soldier Bernie and Merm Petra. Soldier Bernie coming from a desire to up her lance rank and maybe get a reposition, and Merm Petra coming from me thinking that, in the long run, speed plus 2 is better than strength plus 2. Edelgard wants to learn about this game's DLC, so I grab some info from Anna to please her as I go about my daily tasks to become a better killing machine. I chat with the people to gain support points, as well as replenishing the battalions and buying one for those that do not have one. That way everyone can be upping their authority. I also have the important mission to pick who I want for my mission assistants. Mission assistance allows me to bring one student, not from my house, to battle, in order to gain support with them, since every attack I make and they make increases our support, making recruitment easier. I also do a bit of training with Manuela, then break into my students' rooms to read their books and gain enough XP to hit D-rank professor. Spent some time fishing, had a nice meal with Coco and Constance. I then begin tutoring my students in the art of murder, hitting E plus authority with Bernie and Petra, D faith with Dorothea, which gives her heal, and C rank black magic with Happy, giving her Banshee, which inflicts movement -5 after combat. For my second free day, I promote Constance into mage before having Manuela give a seminar, giving me D rank faith, Happy D plus faith, and everyone else, who cares, I'm not really going to use the one I ranked up. I then give Constance D plus faith, and I manage to increase Happy's authority enough that the automatic points increase it to E plus, which is okay. A bunch of stuff actually increases, but most of it was the guys increasing their axe rank. Next free time, I eat with Happy and Petra to up their motivation, then with Bernie and Dorothea, which also increases my professor rank to D plus. More tutoring occurs, Dorothea mastering faith to get faith avoid plus 20, which is fine. I put myself in Monk in order to be able to use that heal spell I picked up earlier, and grind out my supports and my faith rank, which also gives me a free point of magic, which is nice. I then do a quick auxiliary battle for extra levels, and to put to use a net. She's my mission assist. She's my mission assist for this month, and that's because she has 2 rallies built in, meaning instead of stealing XP from my normal units, she can stand next to me and rally for support for an easier recruitment. Nothing all that interesting happens, but we did get plenty of class and weapon XP, which will surely lead to some good study sessions in the future. But right now, it's time to crush that rebellion in Battle in the Fog. Lord Lenato, one of the minor lords of the land, is raising his spear to the holy church I found myself in service of, so for the crime of blasphemy, he must die. To assist me, Rhea has sent one of her most devoted knights to assist me, but really, she won't be doing much, thanks to my upgrades. One of the most important additions to my arsenal is the Saros Holy Monks I equipped to Constance, because this gives her access to Stride, aka movement +5 to any unit in a 2-space grid. This gives me the power to tear through maps to reach whatever I want. I'll buy everyone leather shields to help protect themselves, as well as a few weapon upgrades, before I begin the battle for real. My first major goal is the forest in the center of the map, since that holds a dark mage that's protecting the fog. Once he's dead, the fog is lifted, and I can begin clearing out the enemies. They don't stand too much of a threat, but I think that's part of the tragedy since they're just normal villagers really. Thanks to my extensive training, favoritism, and speed, most of my units can double the enemies, so that just makes the culling even easier. The last battalion of troops are so tightly knit and are wielding battalions against us, which is scary. But I am stronger, and we have the power of magic. Like, Lenato's units are strong, but none of his final entourage is a mage, so Constance, Happy, and Dorothea can really tear through them. I slash into Lenato and hit C-rank swords, which is nice, before we gang up on him. Petra getting the killer blow with her blade, and letting her hit level 9. Chapter 2 is done, ladies only, baby. This month, Rhea plans to be assassinated because she hates her life and misses her mom. But her green-haired assistant realizes that's probably a bad thing, so we should probably make sure she doesn't get murdered or whatever. I spent my first free day exploring and preparing for the future, like completing quests for renown, as well as getting some XP in flying. I don't plan on going into a flying class, but I needed to recruit one of the students. I grab all the investigation details for Edelgard, she throttles me around a little bit, and then I go back to doing what I was doing. I hit E+ flying, then do some eating with Bernie, Happy, Constance, and Dorothea, refreshing their motivation. Happy hits D-rank authority, which gives her the skill Rally Dexterity, mostly useless, but it could give us a little extra crit chance, which is nice. I enjoy a spot of tea with the local monk ladies, even if I have no idea how to talk to them, and Dorothea gets Thoron, a very powerful 3-range spell. Very nice. Constance gets Ward to help my units deal with mages, and Happy gets Physic to heal distant allies. I then go out to deal with some random bandits that stole Constance's book full of information of every single person in the school. Why are we helping her get back this stalking book? I don't quite know, but she promises us a copy to help us become better friends with everyone, so some good comes out of this. This does have some benefits outside of that, however, as Happy, Bernie, Petra, and Venus hit level 10, meaning these 4 can now go into intermediate classes if we have the proper weapon levels. Venus went into Thief since she steals students from other classes, Petra becomes a Brigand and gains 1 point of magic, Happy gets 3 luck when she becomes a mage, and Bernie becomes an archer for bow range +1 and also magic +1. Manuela pushes me up to D-rank flying, though I still need some more dexterity to recruit Ingrid. I send Petra into the arena in order to complete a quest, and she cleans house thanks to her incredible speed. I also hit C-rank professor rank, thanks to doing some gardening, which means more activity points, but more importantly, I get access to adjutants. AKA, I can now bring any one student I don't want to field to act as a backpack for my students, which lets them build support, and get a very cool bonus. Honestly, not much happened this month, but I account that to the whole, convoluted suicide tactic from Rhea. Speaking of which, apparently the assassins weren't even trying to kill her, they were trying to steal a sword that's in the basement of the church. Which makes you question why they call themselves assassins, but regardless, it's time for the battle in the basement. We have a set time limit until they steal the sword, so we have to defeat them before they break through the coffin the sword is stored in. Even more terrifying is the Death Knight in the center of the basement, who is basically guaranteed to murderize anyone who attacks him, even me. So I'm very grateful that he is deciding to stay perfectly still and not move, because otherwise I'd have some choice words for him. I decide to split my army in twain, one half running to the left and the other going to the right. That way we can clean up all the assassins and ensure that Rhea keeps her sword in the basement. I equip my new skills onto my units, and then I send Dorothea, Bernie, and Venus west, while Happy, Constance, and Petra go east. I'm also bringing Edelgard to the west gang, since we're going to be followed by enemies from the south soon, and I don't want her to get wrecked by them. And Dorothea hits level 10 while clearing out some of the bandits. One of the troubles I'm running into is that basically every unit I have is a glass cannon. The enemies can kill every unit I have in 2 to 3 hits, and when we're severely outnumbered like we are here, as the fight is a 6v28, 27 if you want to ignore the Death Knight, which I gladly will, things can get really sketchy really quickly if I'm not careful. Petra takes the 2 wolves on a trip west, while we Beagle Girls deal with the intimidating foes to come. The ground is covered in defensive tiles that we can use to our advantage, or if you're stupid like me, disadvantage because of poor positioning. During this map, I'm focusing on training a skill I really need, that being lances, all while trying to rush the map down. I've sometimes, in solo playthroughs where I have a small amount of units, or just one, I've actually ran out of time on this map, so I don't want that to happen here. Bernie continues to be shockingly evasive, which is funny since this prevents her from activating her skill, but better a less powerful Bernie than a dead Bernie. The reinforcements from the south arrive, and while they're all equipped with battalions, which are scary, a single use of Fusillade from me is enough to put them out of commission long enough for my weaklings to wipe them out completely. I then decide to foolishly try killing the Death Knight by chipping him with battalions and effective damage, but it doesn't really work, so I just give up and kill the boss. Apparently the coffin containing Rhea's cool sword was just open the entire time, and he just didn't bother opening it until now, so I kill him for being stupid and steal it. I'm sure Rhea won't mind. Probably. This month, we're gonna go kill some bandits, which normally I'd just leave that to the police, but apparently they stole a really cool stick, and so, as a man, I cannot let this travesty go unpunished, and so I set about preparing to reclaim the stick. Something I'm doing is hosting as many tea parties as I can when it's someone's birthday. Assuming it all goes well, then the two of us both get a point of charisma, not only making me better at using gambits, but outside of magic, charm is the stat most used to see if you can recruit a student, 5 of them requiring a relatively high stat. Granted, I already have one of them, and Sylvain here would normally require 25 points if I didn't have a 2 in the Bazonga's stat, but the remaining 3 require 15, 20, and 30 charm, so getting to that as fast as possible is ideal. I promote Dorothea and Constance into mage, Constance getting +2 luck out of that, before I begin my exploratory duties. Something very nice this month is I get access to the sauna, which, provided I do a little bit of safe scumming, can grant me and one student either a +2, or if I do it perfectly, +4 to my and their skill growths for the entire month during instruction, faculty training, and bonus stuff like singing in the choir. I decided to only do it once this month to make sure I've got plenty of points to up my professor level though. This month, I sent me and Bernie in to get steamed like broccoli, and then I go and get my first real recruitment, Ingrid. Ingrid is a pretty alright unit. She's got good physical bulk and is going to have a pretty good speed as well, and even has easy access to both Cavalier and Pegasus no matter what I want her to do, since she just needs 1 level to get that. On the other hand though, her main utility right now is the fact that she exists and can be added to my army. She's got good speed, but personally she tends to not excel in anything really. Still, more units is always great, and she's got a neat skill that'll make her even stronger and accurate with gambits, even though since I recruited her from out of house, she starts with an E rank. Once she gets there, she'll be good, but like, not great or amazing. Another important thing I get this month is being able to spend renown on the saint statues, giving my units +1 and eventually +2 to stack growth in specific things, like +1 writing experience or something like that. This includes studying, weekly studies, and even in battles, so that's very nice. But first, tea time. Still bad at it though. My dad decides to drop lore about my mom who died giving birth to me, which sucks, but like, apparently she was super hot, so good on my dad for bagging her, you know? As for what I leveled up at the statues, I brought them to level 4 in each since I don't really need Divine Pulse charges, meaning all of my students now get +1 to their Lance, Faith, Axe, Authority, Sword, Reason, Bow, Brawling, and Class XP, as well as +2 in Riding, Armor, and Flying, and a 20% XP bonus. Once I had that, I put the last 1k into the Sethlene statue since I figured Lance and Faith would be very important in the late game. Probably. As for what I trained in, I got training to get a E+ in Lances and D+ in Faith, before having a nice meal and going training. Bernie gets C Lances, Dorothea got C Faith, which, fun fact, means I shouldn't put another single point into her Faith, since she learns nothing else afterwards outside of higher levels of Faith Mastery, which is basically worthless. Or if I get her all the way to S rank and S+ rank, she gets +1 White Magic range, which only affects Nosferatu, and White Tome Fair, which again, only affects Nosferatu. So if you ever see me put points into that, just remember why I tell you you should never listen to my opinions. Constance also got C+ Reason, and Ingrid got E+ Authority. I managed to hold my own in a conversation during Yuri's birthday tea, but don't worry, I still fricked it up in the end. I'm nothing if not consistent. I do a quick battle to train up our skills, as well as get more support points with Annette, because bro, I do not want to get B rank Faith before recruiting her, and no thanks. Ingrid gets a focus in gaining XP, since I need her to hit level 10 so I can put her on a horse or Pegasus, depending on whatever I need in the moment, though I do give the rest of us, and most importantly, me, some XP here and there since Ingrid is only one lass. Nothing much happens, and I clear out the enemies pretty easily. More tutoring, sucking at drinking tea. Oh, St. Saros, I actually got it right for once. Huh. What do you know? Aw, come on, it didn't even give me charm. Boo. I put Ingrid on a Pegasus and then decide to do some heavy armor training since I need that for some recruitments, as well as lances to D rank, which is great, but more importantly, I increased my lance bonus to +2 instead of +1. Wait, that's uber lame. I guess I got some XP and reason. Oh right, I put Bernie on a horse as well, which is all part of my evil plan. It's time for me to tell you about the Bernie Bomb Blitzer, which I hinted at earlier, but now I'm going to elaborate on that. You can make Bernie into one of the most lethal units ever through a couple of classes, so let me explain it to you. By going through Cavalier, she can get the Desperation skill, which lets her follow up before the foe can counter if she's below 50% HP. Then, I can put her into Mercenary to get Vantage, letting her attack first even if the enemy initiates if her HP is below 50%, and when combined with her personal skill, which gives her 5 extra attack when damaged, the Lance skill Vengeance, which adds missing HP to her attack stat, she becomes a very effective killing machine, since if she's faster, anything that attacks her gets hit twice, which is guaranteed to hurt, especially since that's only 1 combat art and 2 skills. So I have 3 skill slots left to do with whatever I'd like. This can be made even more powerful in the later parts of the game by giving her a Killer Lance or even a Brave Lance, so there's potentially 4 attacks coming your way if you choose to initiate on Bernie, and that's even assuming she never procs her crest. But with my plan set in motion for that, it's time to head out to the battle in the tower. Now that I've gotten mounted units, I have a bunch more options, not just because of Kanto, but also because of the extra movement their steeds give them. I decide that Bernie should equip my Stride Gambit so we can more quickly reach the center of the tower, where Miklon, Sylvain's brother and stealer of the cool stick, resides, while still letting her canter forward and keep some semblance of pace with the speedy crew. Also on the map is Gustav, a slow armor knight that's supposed to help, but I'm not sure he'll last too long. Just a hunch though. Once the battle begins in earnest, we begin moving, putting Ingrid's new steed to use as she moves a ton of spaces and immediately begins climbing on fools. While the rest of my girls run forward and deal with the spiraling enemies, I run into a small side part in order to obtain the item in this chest, since it's probably something good. In the meanwhile, reinforcements come from behind and Gustav stays behind to fight them. They can't do a whole lot of damage to him, but if they manage to hit him with a battalion, like they just did, then they could deal some very serious damage. Some ambush spawns try and take out my girls, but they're too strong to let ambush spawns get them, which also gives me time to hopefully catch up. Oh hey, Gustav dived. Oh hey, happy hits C plus reason. I decided to wait a bit to deal with the reinforcements that Gustav was supposed to deal with, since I don't want to be sandwiched between enemies when we're dealing with even stronger, more scary foes near the center of the tower. They don't pose too much of a threat, since while they have battalions, I think they used up their charges on Gustav. So he did something useful at least. Once they're out of the picture, I can start moving on to the actually scary part of the map, while sending myself off on another side quest to take out this guy for his equipment, since he dropped something, and I like somethings. This will be made even easier with the armor slayer I got from the chest back there, meaning I can really put the hurt on him, especially with Annette's rally making me even stronger. Part of the reason this chapter is a bit harder than the others is we're now dealing with multiple enemy archers, which is problematic since they have 3 range on their bows, meaning they can hit us outside of our normal 1 to 2 range, and when there's a wall between me and them, they can take pot shots at us without any fear of retaliation, which stinks. Once we bait out Miklon's closest allies, they'll all come charging at us to finish us off for him, but while they have numbers and physical power, we have numbers and magical power, so really it's just a question on who attacks first. So I attack first because I ain't taking no chances. They are quite strong, and they will use their battalions to rattle us, but we're able to finish them all off, leaving just Miklon and his cool stick. Thankfully, Miklon is stupid and will leave the tile that gives him 1 defense, 1 res, and a 30% HP recovery in order to whack us, so of course, I don't do that and take him on while he's still on the tile. Made even easier because the stick deals 10 damage to him after combat. Alright, he's dead, so now it's time for what in the world? So, Apparently, that cool stick Miklon stole was actually a dinosaur bone, and by ancient laws, he who dies with a dino becomes a dino. So now Miklon is a dinosaur, and I gotta put him down. See, dealing with dinosaurs like these is best done by surrounding it on all sides and launching offensive battalions at it. I don't really have that ability, so I'll have to make do with what I got. First, I lure it close using myself, then back off so its powerful explosion attack goes to waste. Then it's time to kick his butt. Using me, Ingrid, and Happy, we destroy his guard to reduce his defense and make it so my units can crit and take out 2 of his 3 health bars. Then, right as he wakes up from being dazed, I shoot him in the face, killing him and completing the mission. You know, come to think of it, the sword I found in the basement of the church might also be a dinosaur bone. I'm sure that won't be a problem at any point. Chapter 6 begins with us stealing the bone from Rhea, thanks to Sylvain saying he'll take good care of it. So, cool. We get a bone to ram into the enemy. Next, we get our mission of, oh crap, set up the jump scare. Wait, where did you come from, dude? There's nothing over there. Regardless, apparently Seth's sister Flane is missing, and she's apparently been kidnapped, which fine, I'll look for her. But first, tea time. And I didn't even suck this time. First, I do some inventory management, restore my battalions, and then, fine, I'll start looking for her. But first, sauna time with Bernie. And then start running around finding out which students think which faculty member is the most suspicious, and stand around in shock that people suspected every single member of the faculty, except the woman who drinks a lot, and yet not a single soul suspected Hubert. The guy with black hair, combed over one eye, his eyes are yellow and evil, and he's voiced by Robbie Damon, and no one suspected him? Idiots. I play dress up with my dolls, and while I normally go the servant's attire so my guys will be nice and fancy, and my ladies will be refined and cute, I went a bit wild and went with the only other good costume, the evening wear, which actually looked pretty cool. Except me, I'm cosplaying as a student in order to infiltrate the youth groups, and because I love big socks. And I need glasses. Sue me. I give a child a love letter, and then run off to go try and recruit students from other houses, but I easily get distracted by trying to flirt with this green-haired goddess, because I am a sucker for a lady with killer hips. I then do a bit of training, getting E plus reason, getting another divine pulse point, and then spreading the rest of my time eating delicious meals. Then I take some lessons from Shamir to get E rank bows, then help Bernie get C rank in writing, and more importantly, develop her hidden talent, which lets her grow faster, and the pass skill, letting her move through enemy spaces. Not that I'll use it much, probably. Tea time with Catherine goes well, as does the independent studies, since Bernie gets C rank bows, and Constance gets B rank reason, as well as obtaining the Fimblevetter tome, which is pretty inaccurate, but very good at landing crits. Venus gets access to the priest class, good for you, very attractive. Then I head out to battle to clear a quest, and to maximize my gains, I decide to head out solo, outside of Bernie as my adjutant. To further maximize my gains, I stand in this forest, which is surrounded by forest, since then I'll be less likely to hit, which will still give me the XP without using durability and killing the enemies, meaning I can grind for even longer. I'm prioritizing my lance skills, and after a battle full of sitting in the woods like Robin Hood, I hit C rank authority and D plus lance, so I'd say that would be productive. During tutoring time, Bernie hits C plus lance, which gives her the vengeance skill, which is awesome. Then, for my last free day, I decide to wander the academy, hitting C plus professor rank from gardening, before doing a bit more self-training, getting D rank in reason, so now I have an offensive magic, as well as E plus armor, E plus riding, and a goth woman. Shamir is a definite boon to the army, but her longevity is questionable. She starts with an A rank in bows, C plus in lances, and so not only does she have some pretty good class skills, she can also easily reclass into cavalier, but she tends to falter a bit in her actual power. Her personal skill helps since it gives her +4 to her most important stats if she kills, but her defenses aren't good enough to fully rely on that, and once the enemies really start bulking up, her poor offenses will make hitting that a bit harder. Still, can't resist getting another new unit, anything to make the game easier at this point, you know? Tea time with Dorothea goes well, and I use this opportunity to stare at her drills, before promoting myself into Pegasus Knight, and then it's time for the mission. Apparently there was another basement below the original basement, and once we find that, we learn that not only did someone jump Manuela and beat the stuffing out of her, but but going a little deeper reveals that Flayn and some red-haired girl I've never seen before have been kidnapped by the Death Knight, and thus beginning the battle in the deeper basement. My plan for the battle is to split the party in two. One large group that marches forward and deals with the foes right in front of me, while I get hit with Stride and then rush to the secret passageway in order to obtain all the secret treasures and whatnot. The front team manages to clear out the majority of the enemies without much issue, only getting a little scratched up as they march towards the middle room. One of the advantages mounted units get in this game is that even though archers are still effective, I can just get off my Pegasus and not be weak to arrows, even if I do lose a few stat points. Both teams keep moving forward, experience no real issues. Yeah, okay, I may be at 5 HP, but I'm fine, okay? This is all under control. The enemy attempts to use these defensive/evasive tiles to their advantage, but defense means nothing to mages, so we can take them all out as Venus arrives in the room of many levers. There's so many stupid doors to go through, but the magic of Canto was making this quite a bit easier. Easier enough that Bernie masters Cavalier, getting Desperation added to her toolkit. Ambush spawns attempt to take me down, but I'm strong enough to prevail, and I can continue looting this place for its wonderful treasures. Now some players might leave this mage right here alive, since he can't move, and if all enemies but the Death Knight die, then the mission ends with him alive, and his rewards unclaimed. However, I don't care too much since, outside of boss XP, the item he drops is a Dark Seal, letting a unit take the exam to become a Dark Mage or a Dark Bishop, both of which are male exclusive. So they're mostly just a token of, hey, you killed the Death Knight, so I don't care that much. Once all the enemies in the lever room are dead, I can flick the lever and activate the teleporters to get some treasure, while my allies clear the way to the final room, like a Levin sword, which is a magical sword, and more importantly, a March ring, giving the wearer a +1 movement, which is incredibly useful. I then decide to kill the Death Knight anyways, because style on him, by spamming gambits to deal damage without letting him counter, then sending in Bernie to use Vengeance and one-shot the remaining HP of the Death Knight, ending the fight and rewarding Bernie with plenty of XP. As a reward for saving his sister, Sethos decides to give her over to me, which seems more like a punishment for her, but what do I care? Her is a her, and now her's gonna join my team. Flayn is a interesting unit, since she has some really great pros, like her high resistance to tank mages, her faith spell list is pretty good, getting Restore to get rid of side effects, Rescue to bail out units in bad situations, and Fortify to heal all units in range. But Flayn has a lot of problems. Her physical stats are downright awful, so she'll never be able to use physical weapons really. Her speed and defense are so bad that anyone who attacks her can double her, even if they don't really need to most likely. And her magic and resistance are good, but not quite good enough to make you like her offensive power, and this also has the downside of affecting her faith magic as well, since Restore and Fortify only has as much range as half of her magic. So if her magic isn't good, then she's not going to have good range for those spells. Also, she doesn't get Physic, meaning until she gets Fortify at A rank, she gets no ranged healing, meaning she might get sniped trying to heal people until then. She does get Seal Magic if I discover her hidden potential in Reason, so that could be neat, but I really don't think she'll be a particular standout unit. This month, we're supposed to have a trial fight with the other houses to test and see who's the best house, because I guess Rhea's bored or something, or Hanneman just needs more proof at how much I mog him. Ingrid promotes into Cavalier before I head out to the spa with Flayn. If I'm gonna use her, might as well make her have the best start she can. I can't bring Lysithea into the fight this month, but I can for the side battles I do. And then I find this weird incel-looking guy who asks me to find flowers for him to put on my mom's grave. Weird, but again, my mom was a snack, so sure, whatever. Thanks for the renown. Then it's fishing time. I spent quite a bit fishing since it gives me a bit of Professor XP each time I catch a fish, but I can get some nice goodies by beating my students at literally everything, including being able to catch bigger fishes than them. It's nice to just kick back, wear my favorite hat, and just fish. Alright, that's enough relaxing. Time for more teaching. I buff the Swords and Reason statue, then eat some delicious meals for morale reasons, then train in Faith and master it, as well as getting a bit more writing XP. During tutoring time, Happy hits B rank Faith and learns Seraphim, a spell that's effective against dinosaurs. Even though her personal skill does that anyways, why did she have this spell? More importantly, Petra hits B-rank axes, which gives her Lancebreaker, which lets me turn on the weapon triangle again in this direction, so that's fun. She's also now a Merc, and Shamir is a Cavalier. Then I have Hanneman give a sermon to raise a few of my students, and my own bow and recent skills, giving Flane access to her first recent skill, being Wind. More tutoring gives Ingrid B-rank lances, which means more weapon breaking, which is nice since a lot of the more powerful enemies in this game are swordmasters and heroes found in the mid to late game. I then head out to battle with Lysithea as my adjutant for maximum support cane and take out some bandits. It was pretty productive. Flane got D+ Reason, which gave her another spell in Fire to rely on. I also got a couple trade secrets for Anna's repeatable quest, and then I head out for a solo mission in order to level up my own weapon skills through combat instead of just listening to people talk, and drink up all the XP myself, like a greedy gumbo. Faith hits C, meaning I get the recover spell, and I master Priest, giving me the Miracle skill, a skill that's near useless on a player and a terrible nightmare on enemies. Flane can now become a mage to better grow her reason skill, and I become a mercenary to get access to Vantage before I head out to the monastery to do a bit more training. D-rank riding, D-rank bows, D+ reason, and I gave enough renown to the folks down in the basement to activate the pagan altar, which will be useful in the future. I then promoted into Cavalier. Alright, time to move out, onto the battle in the big field. This will be a pretty tough fight. Not only are we going to be fighting against other trained students instead of random bandits, but we're stuck between two different armies, the Blue Lions to the left, and Golden Deer to my right. Not to mention the Ballistae in the center of the battlefield that is 200% going to shoot me instead of the Golden Deers, the prejudiced jerks. Regardless of all that, I need to try and get more kills than either team, not only because of the blessed lands I can get if I get 12 kills, but at certain thresholds, if either the red army or yellow army gets enough kills, they'll get even stronger, gaining a +2 to their strength, magic, defense, and resistance after 5 kills, and then a second round of buffs if they get 3 more kills, so I'd rather not deal with that. But on the other hand, I gotta understand that if I'm fielding 8 units, they're fielding 16 and 15 each, which is super unfair that they get bonus units, biased jerks. To start things off, I pick it towards the Ballistae at the center to take control of the entire map, and be able to snipe mages or low health units. Flame uses Stride to buff most of my units' movement, and I send Happy in first to obliterate the knights with their low res and her high magic, before being followed by Bernie and myself, while Petra, Ingrid, and Dorothea head down to the right half of the map to deal with an annoying group of Golden Deer soldiers. On our next turn, Flame casts Restore, which for some reason fixes the frame rate on my recording, letting me show more gameplay without giving you a headache. Ignatz is annoying and evasive, so I burn some RNG by taking over the center platform before kicking his butt. The Flyers come in from the west as the Cavs start marching from the east, so I'm in a bit of a pickle. Constance is a worthy sacrifice, so I place her in a forest to lure the enemies as I continue holding the center platform, making sure to keep Edelgard out of danger. Lorenz and Leone make a play for the center as well, and they are annoying to deal with. Lorenz has Swordbreaker Plus, an enemy exclusive skill that gives him 30 hit and avoid instead of 20, as well as Seal Strength, which saps 6 points, enough to not only reduce my damage by 6, but it also reduces my attack speed, making follow-ups more difficult. And Leone has Desperation, meaning I need to kill her in one shot, otherwise she's most likely going to kill whoever she attacks if she gets the chance. I have Flame use Stride again in order to get Petra and Ingrid over to the center to help better hold it, Ingrid using her own gamut to hold the 2 dangerous Cavaliers in place. During the defense of the center, this Pegasus doubles me and lowers me enough for this archer to kill me, but I have to keep going, even if I'm not there to lead them. Meanwhile, the Blue Lions and Golden Deer start clashing down below, and as much as I love Marianne and Raphael, there's no way them and a single Cavalier are going to be able to take on the entirety of the Blue Lions. And worse yet, their attempt was so bad, it killed my frame rate. In order to get revenge and make it so the Blue Lions don't get the buff, I start taking pot shots at them with the Ballistae. I start luring the Blue Lions onto the mound by killing Annette with a crit shot, luring more enemies over to the mound as we fight them off like a finale in Left 4 Dead. Dimitri and Dedu are on the move, and while Dedu is scary, he's no match for Constance and her Sagittae attack, and Dimitri gets obliterated by a single blast of Dorothea's thunderous attack. Then it's time for cleanup, finishing the last of the Blue Lions, and Claude, who's kinda just standing around. I hold Felix in place by launching Ballistae attacks at him, and force him to stand around and heal instead of attacking or moving closer to Edelgard, his clear target. as Dorothea lures Claude off his stand so Ingrid can take him out, finishing the Golden Deer. Constance masters Mage during all this, getting Fiendish Blow, before my Mage and Petra gang can come along and take out the remaining Blue Lion's Cavalier, leading to Happy mastering Mage as well, and then we finish off the last of the enemies, not only keeping the two teams from gaining their buff, but we also get the Blessed Lance as a reward. Oh crap, I forgot about the Killer Lance in the chest. Oh well. This month, I do a sick melee dash dance, and then learn that the town we began the game in is now being attacked by some kind of mass psychosis, so we need to go exterminate them as punishment for something or other. I don't know, I skipped the cutscene. I had some tea with Linhard in the land of bad frame rates, then I do some forging and repairing of my unit's weapons, getting better versions of some weapons, and turning some weapons into others, like a broken iron sword into a killing edge for Petra. Then it's sauna time with me and Dorothea, and I head out to get some training done. But before I can do any training, I gotta do some trading. Yeah, I gotta do the stupid trading quest. It's not fun or interesting, but I gotta do it for Shamir so I can get a good silver bow. Upgrade the faith statue for better faith training, then it's eating time. Gotta make sure that my students have motivation and all that. But I do make sure to dedicate 2 points to bettering myself, that being getting me a C rank in lances, and more points in writing. I also recruit Hanneman, Ash, and more importantly, Manuela and Leone. Manuela is basically if you took Flayn and Dorothea and combined them together. She's honestly probably the most underrated unit in the game, and I see a lot of people overlook her. She's got a good spell list like Flayn, and actually has decent stats like Dorothea. Not only does she have Ward to protect my allies from magic, and Silence to prevent enemies from blasting me with magic, she can eventually get Warp to send my units wherever, and more importantly, since I'm not training Dorothea's sword training, she's the best user of the Levin sword, which is not only good now, if I refine it, it'll become a 1-3 range sword. Combine that with her really good speed and magic, meaning she's going to be a very protective faith user and a very deadly sword user. She'll be an incredibly nice asset to have going forward. Leone is going to be an amazing asset, since just like Manuela, she's got an incredible speed stat, which when combined with her great strength, is going to make her a killing machine, as we saw in the battle in the big field. As a Cavalier, she's going to be able to get into the fight and start cleaning house, and with her high defenses, she'll be hard to kill as well, as long as the opponent isn't a mage. She's also got really good combat arts, like Break Shot, which lets her inflict defense -5 on foes to make fighting dinosaurs or just really annoying enemies easier, and Lance Jab, which lets her add a third of her speed as extra power. So she's either going to be doubling people, or using that speed as raw power. Overall, she's probably going to be in the running for the MVP, and I can't wait to mold her into a super war machine. During independent studies, I kept developing Dorothea's Reason, since if she hits A rank, she gets Meteor, a 3-10 range spell, which basically turns her into a walking ballista, except targeting resistance instead of defense. I also start prepping the new recruits into what they should be, that being teaching Manuela Reason to get Bolting, another 3-10 range spell, while Leone studies Lances and Authority. Then I went out to battle, for instance, going out for a quest battle solo with Leone in my back pocket, so I can get plenty more sword and riding XP for recruitments, since the classes I'm probably going to be leaning towards are very magical orientated. During the battle, Leone hits B rank lances, and I hit level 20, giving me access to the advanced classes if I can hit the required weapon ranks. Then I decided to do an actual paralogue, with my first one being Ingrid and Dorothea's paralogue, since I have both of them and can get both the rewards. In this paralogue, we have a super unique objective. Ingrid decides to look into one of the suitors that her dad wants to marry her off to, and learns that while he's rich, he's also a murderer. So since we don't like murderers, we decide to kill him. We have to kill every enemy on this map, or get Ingrid to the escape tiles, but let's be real, we're just gonna kill everyone. This map sucks because for whatever reason, we decided to walk through the literal valley of hell to get back to school. So not only is that an easy place for him to jump us with his hired hands, but also there's fire and lava and painful floors everywhere. I'm never asking Dorothea for directions ever again. I buy some battalions to replace the low quality ones I own, and then use my stat boosters on my gals to make them even stronger. Once the battle begins, I protect Dorothea so she can get the killer axe that's in this random massive box in this lava hellscape as we clear out the first bit of enemies, while the slower units move east to catch the reinforcements. Until we kill the suitor, he's going to summon 2 thieves every, frequently. So we need to deal with that before that gets out of hand. Petra puts her sword arm to work and cuts down the foes first. Then I place my units on the fire floor in order to get free XP. There's quite a lot of enemies as we get closer to the suitor, but really, we're a well-oiled femme fatale squad of lethal ladies, so they can't do too much, especially when Manuela silences him and Ingrid silences him. Now that I've cut off the head of the snake, I head south to continue clearing out the remaining mercs he bought, since talking things out never works in Fire Emblem, curving inwards to clear out the last of them, though apparently there are reinforcements outside of the ones the priest himself summoned. Very annoying, but they can be churned to create my favorite smoothie, an XP smoothie. I grab the healing staff from the other random wooden box less than 10 feet from actual lava. Dorothea maxes out Mage to make her even more powerful, and I hit C+ rank swords before we finish off the last of the enemies, ending the fight with no real issues outside of having to buy new shoes for everyone. Flame unlocks her hidden potential in Reason, giving her Seal Magic, which is fine, and hits D rank Authority, giving her Rally Luck, which is terrible. Also, Ingrid hits B rank Swords, and Constance learns the Rescue spell, letting her bail out my units if things go bad. That is assuming I deploy her. I enjoy a spot of tea with Marianne, and I manage to speak with her in a way that doesn't scare her off, which is good. During my exploration time, I spend most of my points bettering myself, getting C rank writing, and some more points in Reason, Faith, Armor, and Axes. But all this lets me recruit Marianne on her birthday. Marianne is going to be a very useful mage in both offensive and defensive. She's got a number of useful offensive spells, like the 1-3 range Thoron, crit spells like Cutting Gale and Fimbulvetter, and the hyper-powerful Aura spell, while having access to Physic and Silence to keep my units healed and safe. She also, much like Flame, has insane resistance and magic, making her basically obsolete unless she hits A-rank Faith. However, the real power Marianne holds is in one of the 2 DLC classes that I haven't talked about yet, that being the Valkyrie class. Requiring a B in both Writing and Reason, it not only puts Marianne on a horse, but it also gives her Reason and Faith range +1, making her an even better sniper without the accuracy penalty of snipers. That class is calling her name, so it's time to start training her. The only other thing I did this month was give a bunch of gifts out, not only because I want to recruit students, but I need me some goddess booty. Immediately after that, my dad runs up and tells me that the people in the town we knew was on fire 23 days ago apparently are tired of being on fire and are getting violent, so we gotta go suppress them or something. I don't know. Again, I skipped the cutscene. So it's time to kill a bunch of crazed civilians during the battle in the burning village. This mission is going to be a bit challenging, since we need to rescue the civilians by killing their bullies, so range and speed is going to be a must. I also made sure everyone had equipment to boost their stats or let them heal themselves, so I don't have to worry too much about them and can focus solely on the rescue. Then it became time for combat, as I began rushing out to rescue the civvies, not only with my flyers, but with archers and cavaliers, and then I shove Edelgard in the back so she can't get attacked. One of the tasks I have Ingrid do is collect the keys to the chest on the map and open the boxes, as I continue killing the guys with no pupils, which makes me wonder how in the world they can see me and attack me. I was starting to get worried about the civvies, so I started running even faster, Ingrid picking up a giant shell as I start closing in on the boss of the chapter, Solon, who was the stupidly old librarian apparently, while some of the girls prepare to fight the Death Knight, mostly for XP, but also to say I did it because I'm awesome. Also, I saved all the civilians, though I quickly realized that killing the Death Knight wouldn't be happening, so instead, I decided to kill his cavalier friends, since they drop crescent sickles, which are very powerful weapons, though it'll be a bit before I can use them since they're A-rank weapons. I sneak in and grab the Horse Slayer from the chest, before Shamir saves my stupid dad from killing himself, because no, Dad, a paladin can't fight and win against a Dark Bishop, okay? This month, we're holding a grand ball, though to be honest, this makes sense, since we're trying to prevent our students from having a bunch of trauma, and maybe a ball will keep them happy and distracted from all that. I'll go to battle first though, since Flame says something so rheophobic, I gotta look into the camera like it's The Office. She needs help protecting her and Seth's mom's grave, so I should go and help him out since I'm a good person. I mostly bring flyers and mages, which is most of my army, in order to not be slowed by the sand. There are quite a few dangerous units on this map, like the Assassins and Swordmasters, but I have a feeling I should be strong enough to deal with them. Additionally, they are slowed by the sand, and I'm not, so I should have an advantage in that regard. I send Seth off into the ocean so he runs no risk of getting into combat, while Flame uses Stride to send my units to war. Constance and Ingrid going first since they weren't hit by the move boost. Then I send the troops out to start dealing with the foes, prioritizing the advanced units since they're the most dangerous, before I head off with Flame and Constance to deal with the two bosses on the right, while Ingrid and Manuela deal with the Islanders, because they really hate Moana. Petra continues to show her amazing potential by taking out the Warlock all by herself, as Ingrid and Manuela begin closing in on the boss of the chapter. The first boss drops to a swing of my axe, while the middle group continues clearing their way up the beach, as several of my troops close in on level 20. I spend a few moments gazing out over the horizon with Sedith before returning to the killing spree, the middle team and mine meeting up to deal with the second boss as my troops converge on the final boss. He can't be silenced by Manuela, but his partner sure can, so Marianne silences the boss's ally, then Ingrid and Manuela take him out, meaning all that's left to do is to finish the one lonely guy left behind. I decided to put him out of his misery and save him the embarrassment of being the only guy to escape this battle. The battle has some great rewards, such as 2 incredibly high-level battalions, as well as the Spear of Asal, a spear that heals the wearer and is effective against cavaliers, and the incredible Katasu staff, which heals the wielder, but more importantly, it increases the range of reason magic by 1, meaning all of my spells will have even more range, pushing normal spells to 3 range, and pushing Thoron to 4 range, enough to outrange even snipers, which is going to be a massive boon. Then I did a very easy mission where me and Leonie take on an entire army in order to buff our stats, and give me a target for my heal spells for more faith levels. Nothing levels during the mission though, but I do get pretty close to ranking up reason. Study time goes well, before I promote Bernie into a Merc to get advantage, Dorothea, Happy, and Constance into Priest to continue their magical studies, and then I head out for my first exploration time this month. After doing the normal stuff like talking to people, gardening, and going into the spa with Marianne, I needed to decide who would be my dancer. The dancer class has access to swords, magic, faith, and of course, the ability to refresh other units for disgustingly evil combinations. While thinking, I got C rank reason, which is nice. Eventually, I decided on Dorothea as my dancer, since her offensive and supportive skills aren't the best, and I planned on deploying her anyways for support reasons. Plus, I couldn't make Manuela the dancer, which is a shame, and the +5 charm is nice. I pick up D+ bows as well, then I had some good food with my pals. I didn't recruit anyone important this period, though I did pick up Lawrence. He's not a lady, so who cares. After a very empty performance in the dining hall, like, Jesus, we didn't attract a single person to the crowd. Dorothea wins the dancing contest, meaning she now has access to the dancer class, a combat art that I don't think I have her use once, and Sword of Void +20, which is... it's fine. I tried to get a couple advanced classes, and managed to get me into Assassin, Happy into Warlock, and Bernie into Paladin, all with nice buffs to our stats. I got C+ Faith, and thanks to my supports, that gives me enough to recruit both Lysithea and Annette. Annette is a unit that works no matter how much work I put into her. Since I recruited her when I did, she has access to 3 rallies right away, letting me give my units +4 strength, speed, and resistance, meaning more damage, doubles, and less magic damage. As an actual unit, she's quite good too, getting access to powerful reason spells and some decent faith spells, but she does have some flaws. Most notably, all of her spells are 2 range, meaning she'll need one of the 2 range buffing staffs to have any range, and her personal weapon, the Crusher, is entirely unobtainable, since it requires recruiting Gilbert, a character exclusive to the Blue Lions route. Sucks, but even still, I think she'll be a nice unit to have in the army. Lysithea is the best mage in the entire game. Her entire spell list is chock full of amazing spells, like Swarm, Dark Spikes, Luna, and Warp, meaning she can be both an offensive menace and a supportive goat. Additionally, she's got magic and speed coming out of every hole in her body, so she's going to be a nuking machine, especially once I start training her in the ways of the Valkyrie or giving her a range boosting staff. She's also got 2 crests, letting her take advantage of both the Thyrsus and the Thunderbrand for Mimi Hexblade uses. Her only real flaw is her complete and utter lack of defense, She has very little HP and her defenses are just as bad, meaning any melee unit is going to tear through her, and heaven forbid if a brawler or swordmaster comes charging at her. But I have a feeling that now that she's in my army, the enemies are about to be under complete and utter bombardment. I pick up D rank armor and axe, and some points in authority and bow before dancing my heart out at the gala. Being honest though, I drank way too much, so I have no idea who was waiting for me at the Goddess Tower. I was completely blacked out that night. Which is insanely bad, especially when that morning, a bunch of students are attacked by dinosaurs that appeared out of nowhere, meaning I gotta rescue them with a massive hangover during the battle near the ruined buildings. This battle is going to be a bit unique, since instead of dealing with a bunch of troops, instead, we just have a bunch of dinosaurs to deal with. We have a bunch of battalions to use, and thanks to my training, there's a bunch that have more powerful gambits, and more importantly, better stats that can be gained from said battalions. I send Leonie, Ingrid, and Bernie off to the left, before having the rest of us rush forward to take out the dinosaurs. Part of the reason I have such a rush in me is because my dad is here, and look, I love him, but he's incredibly suicidal, and the last thing I want is for him to get himself killed. Another benefit to the speed is that we get to better protect the random students who are also under attack from the dinosaurs. Happy and I take out the enemy's armor, which lets me stick Petra, to great effect, onto the dinosaur. The Cavalier girls take out the dinosaur on the west before coming back to help us. As we continue taking out the second to last dinosaur, Dad's on his way to quote-unquote help, and shout out to this random student for face-tanking a dinosaur super blast like a champ. We take out the last of the dinosaurs perfectly fine, thanks to multiple crits, and the intense power Lysithea already holds without any real training. Plus, my dad survived. Scratch that. Well, my dad's dead. But I'm fine. I'm good. Please ignore the sad music playing in the background. I couldn't possibly be sad. I'm in the sauna with my friend. How could I possibly be sad? Damn it. I gotta do some training, getting lots of points and things I need for recruitments and classes. I can only do so much training since all the knights are out hunting that red-headed jerk, so I send the rest of my activity points towards eating food. Studying goes well as my units begin closing in on B+ ranks, as well as picking up absolutely essential skills, like Marianne unlocking a Reason spell, Manuela getting B rank swords to make her better with the Levin sword, and Lysithea picking up Dark Spikes to obliterate the Death Knight, and any other Cavaliers I feel like obliterating. Hanneman then does a school session, which gives me the C rank bows required to recruit Mercedes, but she's not getting an introduction yet. I haven't added her to my army yet. I'll go out to battle in order to do some of the many paralogs I've built up, deciding to go out to do the Tales of the Red Canyon to get some more Umbral Steel, and more importantly, a Knowledge Gem, which doubles skill XP gained, allowing for much quicker rank ups. Dinosaurs are scary, but considering we have a bunch of battalions with large damaging zones, crit-slaying powerhouses, and happy, they're not all that scary, especially since many of the dinosaurs on the map only have one rank of their shield instead of two, so any attack can permanently break it. Something nice about the enemies here is they drop Mithril when their armor breaks instead of Umbral Steel, which is used for the silver weapons, like the Spear of Assault from earlier. Once the big dinosaur gets close enough, I just bully the crap out of him while wiping out the other enemies for maximum rock collecting, using battalion after battalion before I put the beast down with a single swipe of my blade. Poor fool didn't even get a chance to attack anything. Next up, I was told by Lawrence that he apparently has to go deal with an annoying blonde guy, and that honestly sounds quite fun right now. So I joined him in the mission Land of the Golden Deer. Technically, we could just use Stride and Ingrid to fly over and take Acheron out right away, since this map ends the second he's defeated, but I wanted to train my units a bit, so I plopped Lawrence on the defensive tile, and then got to work taking out the menaces coming our way. We stay unified in the center for the first wave of enemies, and once they start coming in, we begin splitting off to get as much XP as possible. During the battle, Leonie maxes out Cavalier for a nice bonus, and continues to prove her worth by taking out archers and their stupid 3 range. Speaking of skills, right now Bernie is in Mercenary to get closer to that Vantage Desperation combo I so desperately want to do, while I pick up B rank swords. During the battle, I give Lysithea the Knowledge Gem since, while you may not know this, there is actually a point to getting over A ranks in the form of some really useful skills I want on Lysithea, namely Dark Magic Range +1 and Dark Fair, giving her 5 additional damage when wielding Dark Magic, which is her entire reason spell list. The reason why I want to pick it up from her actual skills instead of a class is because the only class to my knowledge that has access to Dark Magic Fair is Dark Rider, the master class, and that class kind of sucks, so I'd much rather her just have it on hand. Acheron notices some thieves attempting to get away with some loot, so while Ingrid clears the way to Acheron, my other units pick up the Advanced Seal and the Devil Sword. The Devil Sword is kind of stupid, but it can be used to guarantee damage on Bernadetta. That way she's always in the range of her skill activating and can get 10 points towards vengeance each time she swings it. Once I clean up most of the mobs, I send Ingrid in to shut up that awful mustache, which she does perfectly. This gives us a pretty good battalion, and more importantly, the Thyrsus, giving anyone who wields it range +2 to their reason or offensive magic. And if Lysithea wields it, since she has the Crest of Gloucester, it gives her a 50% chance to activate Pavis and Aegis, having any incoming physical damage, be it melee or range, which will no doubt save her life because, again, currently rocking a 3 defense. After teaching, I do a bit of promoting, getting Petra into Wyvern Rider for that juicy +3 strength defense resistance, Paladin Ingrid, and Mage Marianne, which is a bit less impressive, but still nice. During my last exploration period, I needed to do a bunch of prepping for the last few recruitments and the later half of the game. I failed at getting Mercedes since I'm missing 3 magic, which stinks, but I do pick up Felix and Ignox, which is nice. I can't recruit anyone else this month, and there's no training I can do that'll really do much for me, so I spend the remaining 6 points having meal after meal after meal. Just like me in real life. However, conveniently, at the end of the month, Eligard finds the enemy's hideout. That being a random forest no one bothered to check, which makes me question what in the world you people were doing for an entire month. Did you just ditch school to drink because Rhea doesn't allow bear on campus? It was probably that, but whatever. Time to hunt them like beasts in the battle in the big forest. The girl who thought it'd be a fun idea to stab my dad is here, and is planning on killing me too, alongside her allies in Thwisted. Whatever that stands for. During the prep menu, I do some class rearranging and battalion swapping, that way Petra can be in her Wyvern Rider class, so the trees don't slow her down. And she can fly in, kill someone with a crit, then canto out of there. I also give Lysithea her magical dinosaur bone, so that way she can snipe fools with a 4-range Luna, which ignores resistance, a very powerful combo. When it's time for the mission to begin in earnest, I send me and the mages forward to deal with the initial enemies, while Ingrid leads the flyers and mounted units west to do battle against a handful of enemies in the west. There are dinosaurs on this map, but again, spamming battalions wipes them out and leaves them open to attack after attack, basically turning them into XP pinatas, and giving us more umbral steel, which can be used to repair dinosaur weapons like my sword or the bone I stole from Sylvain's brother. The two armies begin to converge on the main threat. Kronya and her goons aren't strong enough to hold us back. In fact, they're just making us stronger in the process, like helping Happy hit A-rank Reason, teaching her the ultimate dark magic spell, Hades. Once the last of Kronya's minions are wiped out, we move in on her. And hey, isn't it a little suspicious that there's like no enemies up here? Surely it's nothing. I just have to kill Kronya, the boss, and the mission is over. Kronya herself isn't much of a threat, she's just pretty hard to hit, but that doesn't stop Happy from nailing her with a 38% chance, which lets me kill her with a single fire spell that launches her incredibly far. Well, good thing that's over. Time to skip the cutscene and... Why aren't I alive anymore? So, it turns out that Solon, that creepy dude from earlier who experimented on the villagers and turned them mad, yeah, that was his daughter, and by killing her, we activated his trap card, which sapped me of all my life points, sending me to the Shadow Realm. Honestly, I'm more upset Konami released a trap card that just kills you dead if you kill any random mook the trap is placed on. Like, that's so stupidly busted. Luckily, the Christmas tree from before tells me that there is a way out of here. If we cast polymerization with the ingredients of me and her, not only will I become way more festive, but I'll also regain life points equal to my attack power, meaning I can escape the Shadow Realm and begin Phase 2 of the fight. The main annoyance of this phase is just our terrible start position, as Solon picked up all my allies and threw them in a thick forest where they can barely move, and summoned a bunch of ambush spawns. I send Petra to go open a very important chest, while the rest of my troops come out of the woods, while I start using my new goddess powers, which, yes, combining me with the goddess changes only one thing, and that's my personal skill, letting me deal 2 extra damage, and that's it. I don't even get any stat buffs. We continue slaying the Twisted, including the dinosaurs they summoned, since we're just that cool. Both dinosaurs fall, and it's time to start killing the humans. Or at least I assume they're human. Petra picks up the speed ring I sent her for, which can be given to any unit to give them 2 speed when equipped. Yeah, it's not a lot and it takes up the equipment slot, but 2 speed is 2 speed, you know? Solon himself is barely a threat in his own map, since while he can't be silenced by Marianne or Manuela, he can be silenced by Lysithia's swarm spell, completing the fight and ending in a victory for us. This month, Freya plans on taking us to another secret basement. And okay, how many basements does this stupid building have? And what do you mean there's an entire DLC about an even secreter basement, even lower than that? Regardless of how many basements this has, this month still plays out pretty predictably. I gain access to a new class, but it's not on amount, so elitists will say it's a terrible class. I mean, I also think it's kind of mid. The lack of any magical flare skill and terrain resistance is useful in only like 2 maps, one of which is the final battle of the Golden Deer route, but Sacred Power is alright. I just wish the class was a bit better. After gardening, I go fishing in order to hit B+ Professor rank, and then I hang out in the sauna with Lysithia so our training goes well. I get D+ axes, Alois, and Mercedes. Mercedes is the healer, and a fantastic one because of it. Not only does she heal herself half of what she heals thanks to her personal skill, but her spell list is insane, both in Reason and Faith. Physic, Restore, and Fortify make it so my units are very well protected, and her Reason spell list is full of incredible heavy hitters, like Balganon or Ragnarok, letting her deal insane damage. And her speed is decent enough that she could double with those, though it might be a bit shaky. Her only real flaw is that her HP and defense are incredibly subpar, having a 30% and a 20% growth in those categories. She has an item we can get later to help with that, but for the most part, if we keep her away from swordmasters and snipers, she should be fine, and keep us fine in the meanwhile. During tutoring time, I get Dorothea to A rank Reason, meaning now she has Meteor, allowing me to assassinate anyone who is unpleasant to my eyes, even if I can't see them. I promote into Armor Knight to get the C armor needed for Raphael, as well as the axes required to get Hilda. I give Dorothea the Warlock class in case I want her out of Dancer for some reason, and promote Petra into Warrior for Wrath. Mercedes into Mage, Lysithia into Warlock, which gives her 9 freaking points of defense, before heading out into battle to train up some more. And for some reason, I guess I decided it would be a good time to do the most annoying paralogue in 3 houses, a Cursed Relic. Some Duke guy is trying to deliver a box filled with a mysterious item to Yuri, while Twisted hunts him down because they want to know what's in the box. I guess a lot of people want to see Patrick's picture of SpongeBob at the Christmas party. As usual, my party splits into 2 factions, Happy and Manuela running north, while the rest of us head to rescue the Duke from his perilous state. There's a bunch of random thieves on the map, and they seem strange. Hopefully that's not anything to be worried about. Constance and Yuri stay right where they are, since one is underleveled and the other one is a dude, as we continue rushing to save the Duke from his attackers. Bernie hits B-rank lances during the scuffle, which is really appreciated. One of the thieves managed to attack the Duke, and St. Sarah's above he turned into a dinosaur! So yes, the random thieves on the map, if they reach the Duke, will turn into dinosaurs, which is terrifying because now I have to fight dinosaurs and protect this idiot from becoming Dino Chow. My units quickly take down the spawned-in dinosaurs, and once we're close enough to the Duke, the boss spawns in a bunch of reinforcements, which is fun. Like we needed more crap to deal with. One of the issues I'm running into is that the Duke is prioritizing standing near me, which is a problem when standing near me is likely to result in him putting himself in danger. The enemies start moving in now, outside of the boss, but what they have in numbers, we have in quality, meaning we can swat them like flies as they struggle to do just about anything to us. Even the speedy assassins couldn't double Bernie, and her vengeance attack lets her kill him in a single strike. Happy continues to be the GOAT, sniping fools as we close in on the boss. He has the Dark Spike skill, which is pretty scary for my calves to deal with, so instead, I send in Petra to take him out, ending the chapter and leaving the Duke completely safe. What was in the box, you may ask? It was the Fetters of Dromi, an experimental piece of equipment crafted out of dinosaur bones that not only grant movement +1 to whoever wields it, but Canto as well. Despite being a dinosaur item, I give it to Dorothea, who will take 10 damage if she ever gets into combat, but that's unlikely to happen, and so now she can dance, and then either run forward to get closer to the action, or retreat if things are getting too dicey for her to stay there. I then go do some training in my heavy armor, forging my body into a weapon. I do hit D+ armor and C rank axes though, as well as mastering Armor Knight and obtaining the Armor Blows skill, giving me 6 defense if I initiate, which is neat. I then went out to battle once again instead of exploring, since practical experience would surely be better than keeping them indoors all the time at the monastery. Leading me into the next paralogue, and in the running for coolest chapter name in Fire Emblem, Falling Short of Heaven. Falling Short of Heaven is the classic case of a chapter playing out in 2 entirely different ways. One way you can play it is by turtling to protect both Rhea and Ash from attackers, or you could be smart and hunt down the bosses sending in reinforcements. Naturally, I want this to be over quickly, so I go for the hunting them like beasts option. This will require torches, mounted units, and a whole lot of hoping that I don't bump into anything, or leave a chance for the enemy to crush Rhea or Ash. Fun fact though, there is no punishment for Rhea getting attacked, so theoretically, I could let her get into combat, but it'd be better to just kill them. We spread out to clear out every boss, letting Petra take out the first of the bosses, as Bernie, Happy and Ingrid, and Leonie and I close in on the other bosses. I can use Catherine here as well, but I'd rather not since that drained my XP gain. So I unequipped her sword and just use her to scout ahead and draw attacks towards her. Petra flies down to back Bernie up as Ingrid takes out the second boss, then on the next turn, Bernie takes out the third as we just have one boss left, which Leonie takes out, ending the map in just 4 turns. The rewards for this map are incredibly insane, getting us a critical ring, granting the wielder +10 to their crit rate, some Umbral Steel, and most importantly, the Shoes of the Wind, granting 1 unit +1 movement permanently, an insane buff in any unit's arsenal, turning any offensive unit more deadly, and making my supports able to help more people. Afterwards, I decide to go to battle in another paralogue, that being True Chivalry. We need to protect the villagers, soldiers, and the most likely to die, Rodrigue, and his obsession with wielding the heaviest faith spell in the game, making him able to be doubled by just about anything on the map. The time has come for us to do what we always do, instantly stride, and then rush down the enemies before they even have a chance to take out any villagers. Petra rushing all the way to the other side of the map to clear out all the enemies. The knights are actually pretty competent, 2 of them even critting back to back, which is pretty nice to see. The stride gambit was so powerful that we cleared the chapter insanely quickly, wiping out most of the enemies in just 3 turns. And all that was left was the boss, which is made even easier when one of the knights hits him with his gambit, knocking him off the fort tile he was standing on and making him easy picking for Petra's lance. For clearing the map, we get a bunch of money, a woe dowel, which is an even better killing edge, and a heavy shield that no one can really wield since no one has a crest of Dalaris, but maybe it'll find a use at some point. Before going out onto the mission, I promote into Barbarian, before going down to fight in the battle in the 3rd yet still not deepest basement. Rhea has me set on a throne to see if I receive a blessing from the goddess Sothis, but instead, all that happens is a bunch of Adrestian knights come charging in, as well as the Flame Emperor, who I haven't mentioned a single time this entire script. They've been skulking around anytime anything goes wrong, saying things like, "Oh, but wouldn't it be better if we destroyed the current system in favor of my system? Surely my system would never have any flaws, unlike the current system." So they're kinda just insane, so I haven't really put much thought into them. Then it turns out that the Flame Emperor is Edelgard. Wait. And since there has never once been an example of a woman pretending to be a man in order to gain something from a patriarchal society ever... Oh, Saint Saros, she did the exact thing I said never happens. Well, I mean, if she was gonna betray me anyways, no, I'm glad I didn't put any work into her. And now it's time to kick her butt and show her the power of our united femininity. My units start defeating the Adrestian soldiers, as some of them begin stealing crest stones, fragments of dinosaur hearts that can be inserted into a human body in order to force them to transform into a dinosaur, which Edelgard reveals was her plan the entire time, so she can create an army of dinosaurs to take over the entire world. Admittedly, that's a pretty cool plan, but since she's a red unit, she's obviously evil and 100% in the wrong, so I have to defeat her. She even snuck dinosaurs in for us to fight, but really that just means we get a bunch of XP for defeating them. You know the drill, divide my army into 2 fronts, attack them from both sides, yada yada yada. We manage to protect the crest stones from the thieves, taking out rogues carrying them, as we move in to deal with Edelgard's actual defenders. They may be tightly knit, but they don't stand a chance against our oppressive power. Edelgard decides to move towards me instead of sitting around waiting to be killed, and I learn that Todd Habercorn is a cannibal. Ew. Edelgard claims that she has no intention of killing me, but I really doubt that, so I just decide to put her down with my own dinosaur bone, the bone of the creator, to make sure that she knows just how badly we beat her. Before we can kill her, however, Hubert warps in and rescues her, meaning she's now a threat at large, and can go regroup and come destroy us. Uh-oh. Hey, guess who's raising an army to come and kill us? Edelgard has convinced the whole of Adrestia that my females-only run is actually a psyop, and that I think all men should be killed, or something stupid like that. Wouldn't know, I skipped the cutscene. All I need to know is that she's coming to gank us, and that I need to fight back in order to prevent Edelgard from taking over the world, and turning everyone into dinosaurs. My last 2 free periods goes to exploring, that way I can pick up my last few recruits, namely Raphael and Hilda. Hilda is an amazing unit. She's got insanely good stats, notably an insanely high 27 strength right out the gate. She also has some great combat arts, like Shadow Slash to lower defense, Diamond Axe for a ton of raw power, and more. Plus, she'll easily slot into a lot of really good classes, Barbarian, Warrior, Wyvern Rider even. Her only real flaw being that of her super late recruitment, meaning that she hasn't received the same kind of tutelage the others have, but that's fine. She'll get plenty of training, so this is fine. Not that big of a problem. I had to do my best to prepare for the upcoming battle, like training myself in every way I can, getting B+ authority, eating with my students for motivation and Professor XP, all to prepare me for the upcoming battle. Lysithea gets C-rank Faith to better deal with dinosaurs, Mercedes hits D-rank battalions to start using decent ones, and tea time with Shamir. I try a couple different promotions. Leonie and Hilda get access to Pegasus Night. I got challenged in the arena, but that just meant I had a bunch of random students to challenge, and I cleared it quite easily, rewarding me with a Brave Lance and a ton of money. The last thing I wanted to do was, in case some of us die during the battle, I have a sort of final meal amongst my friends. It's nice, it's peaceful, to see everyone sitting at the table and sharing this moment together. It reminds me of the days when I first came here, when I first joined their fold. I was new to them, and they were new to me, and yet we've forged bonds that would last a lifetime. Truly a most wonderful moment. I haven't been perfect. I've made mistakes, I've messed up, and I'm certain I've stepped on some toes. And yet, that doesn't matter. What matters now is that this is the last defense for this academy, and I won't let this battle take 100 days. I will end it by ending Edelgard. Regardless of my mistakes, it's time to fight back in the battle to protect Garreg Mach. This battle is going to be incredibly difficult. Not only are there a ton of enemies and near endless reinforcements, but there are multiple dinosaurs and flying dinosaurs that are here to try and ruin my day. Thankfully, we have quite a large number of allies to help out, or more likely, taking damage so we don't. Also, the Death Knight is here, so that's fun. Team West is going to deal with the dinosaurs and Hubert to stop his reinforcements. Team East is going to tackle the Death Knight and the Ballistae, and Team Equator is going to head straight down the middle to cut the bosses down, as well as hyper-focus on these 2 Ballistae. I use up my stat boosters to make sure that we can survive as best we can, giving out equipment so my mages can snipe, and make sure that my weapons are in tip-top shape. Pairing Lysithea and Dorothea lets me do all kinds of magical sniping tactics, while the rest of my army continues to clear the path forward. The enemies take out our allies in Ballistae, but that just means we didn't get attacked that turn, a much better outcome. We start pushing the enemy back, taking out the Ballistae and Pegasus Knights, and it's very tough. But thanks to some help from the green units, we down the dinosaurs and get close enough for the Death Knight to lure him off his heal tile, so he can deal more damage and he won't heal if he survives. I take out the first Ballistae, as the Death Knight takes pity on Petra and doesn't crit her, and the green units constantly run back and forth instead of actually coming down and fighting. Cowards! Lysithea launches a critical attack, dealing almost 200 damage in a single attack, and Bernie uses Vengeance to obliterate the Death Knight, before Randolph tries to take me out for the glory of the Empire. I whip him with my bone sword and move on with my life. Bernie takes out the last Ballistae, meaning we no longer have to deal with any long-range attacks, and we take out the last dinosaur on the map, thanks to Lysithea and her powerful magics. Hubert tries to protect his lady's empire, but if he wanted to do that, he really should have considered Leonie's power with the lance. Before Edelgard herself comes at me, she claims that she wants a fair fight, and then uses a gambit attack, which I can't counter, and then has one of her goons kill me. I don't know how the fight goes after that because, again, dead. Really wish I could have done more in my life. Protect my students, maybe grow old, exist. But none of those dreams will ever come true. It's over. The dream is dead. Oh, Saint Sarah's, the screen's fading back in.
Reach for